Hey there, welcome to the Unique History Channel. Tonight we're going to be doing a reading from the Barnes Review, September-October 2010, and we'll be reading Lady Michele RENOUF in Tehran, Mideast Peace Solution in Southeast Russia. The world's first Zion is a story that needs to be brought to as many people as possible. The forgotten Manchurian paradise of milk and honey welcomes the world Jews with open arms, unlike the Palestinian desert. This autonomous region was recently visited by the President of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, probably of Jewish stock. The Azerbaijan option is viable and the equitable solution to the problem of Israel. In the July 5th issue of American Free Press, Paul Craig Roberts, the former Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, writing after the Zionist lobby's inter-Jewish backbiting against veteran journalist Helen Thomas, insisted he did not want Israel destroyed, whereas Miss Thomas suggested returning Israeli Jews to their old European haunts. Mr. Roberts made what he called the rhetorical proposal to relocate Israelis in the U.S. Yet neither has been willing to state the obvious, that Israel at no time in any moral right to exist anywhere in Palestine. The living criminal blueprint for the Jewish state was drawn by Theodor Herzl in 1895 when Adolf Hitler was age 6 and World War II half a century away. It happens that there is a real, rather rhetorical alternative homeland option where the world Jews could relocate in perfect safety. Here their security wall would be optional rather than a self-fulfilling creedal project of their anti-Gentile identity. A homeland has never been provoked to such desperate suicide bombings or rocket attacks since its creation and did not involve mystic impostures of God-given privileged real estate, the genocidal blueprint for privacy of other people's ancestral land, and their credibly authorized displacement to besieged refugee camps. The founding of this homeland predated the Zionist state by 2 decades. The Jewish Republic, all but in name, is the size of Switzerland. It still exists, and Yiddish is its first official language. What is officially called the Jewish Autonomous Region, although generally referred to by the name of its capital city, Azerbaijan, is located on Russia's southeastern border with China. It was created in 1928 during the early days of the former Soviet Union and formalized in 1934. I have had the opportunity to speak about Azerbaijan on 2 occasions this year in very different, equally prestigious venues. These venues each owe their ethics essentially to the classical Greek scientific attitude. The House of Lords in London, Mother of Parliaments, still pervades the era of centuries-old sovereign tradition through, though sadly, Zionist-occupied territory for the past century and a half. By contrast, the Iranian presidential headquarters in Tehran is the principal target of predatory Zionist envy and the aggression of the success of the Khomeini revolution, which made Iran's economy and foreign policy off limits to international greed as good oriented users. On each occasion, my public interventions on the subject were carefully monitored and commented by the Committee Secretary Trush, the private army intelligence organization of the UK's Jewish community. The CST was set up in 1994 by jailbird tycoon Gerard Ronson, the archetypical Jewish Shakir Hardman, who previously co-founded 62 group of thuggish gangs specializing in brutal attacks on anti-Zionists in London and around the United Kingdom. While 62 groups' hitmen often found themselves on the wrong side of the law, the increasing power of the Zionist lobby in recent decades is reflected in the enhanced status of Ronson's newer Jewish security force. The CST is not only tolerated by the British authorities, the Home Office, and the UK police forces actively and openly assist their operations. Indeed, they act as a privileged nationalist police force within another nation. Earlier this year, the CST found it troubling to note that I was speaking to a meeting of House of Lords where my proposal was greeted with applause to promote her campaign to have Jews relocate en masse to Azerbaijan, a Jewish region established in Eastern Soviet Union by Stalin in 1934. A few months later, they were even more concerned, noting that my impromptu address to 1,000 international delegates gathered at President Ahmadinejad's Tehran headquarters during the 4th International Conference on Imam Khomeini and Foreign Policy, organized by the Iranian Institute for Political and International Studies. I used this invitation to purpose directly to President Ahmadinejad Azerbaijan as a home for Israel's Jews. It was a ready-made, common-sense option and just conclusion to the rogue criminal occupation of Palestine. As I explained to the assembled company, indeed after 1928, European Jews had no need to pirate Israel, and to this day, a Jewish autonomous region called Azerbaijan exists peacefully and available on Russia's southeast border with China, never having to place an indigenous people for its creation. Some Jews, for instance, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's PR for televised a live debate with me, tried to claim this was an act of anti-Semitism when Stalin gave this region of 30,000 kilometers, the size of Switzerland, to Jews. The truth is that Stalin was providing every ethnic group comprising the Soviet Union with its own autonomous region. Nothing anti-Semitic has ever endangered Azerbaijan during its 82 autonomously Jewish and safe, peaceful years of existence. Furthermore, when secular European Jews were crying, "We are a people without a homeland, Palestine is a land without a people," they again lied, for in 1945 there was no political impediment to prevent European Jewry to heading to the welcoming arms of their vast and long-established Jewish autonomous region in Azerbaijan. The true is same today, yet our mainstream media, we hear not a word of Azerbaijan. Only rarely does the Jewish Telegraph Media Agency, JTA, mention Azerbaijan. When it does, first as distinguishedly as a district. Which district in the world is the size of Switzerland? The fact is, since the disillusionment of the Soviet Union, its ethnically autonomous regions have been entitled to republic status, yet the JTA lets us know due that so-called sensitivity to Israel. Azerbaijan has declined due to fear of raising Gentile public awareness of its existence, to acknowledge its status as the first Jewish homeland, which is all but state and republic. My hope is singularly upstanding President Ahmadinejad, who speaks the whole political truthfully, will promote the awareness of the first Jewish homeland, and that there is no need for European Ashkenazim Jews to go back to Poland, Germany, or Austria when they have their own state whose first language is Yiddish. Please view my first homeland option and morale website at azerbaijan.co.uk or jewishrepublic.com. For in the spirit of Imam Khomeini, there you will find a campaign for moral and morale rearmament. Palestinians, whose Nakba constitutes the greatest and longest tragedy of the 20th century, those brave voters who democratically elected the long heroic Hamas, deserve return of every inch of their tormented land, and not in any part of a one-state, two-state farce. The immediate vacation of European Jews from all of Palestine and compensation to the indigenous Arab people is more than overdue for those who, for more than a century, continue to fight for a reason at the front line of a historical truth and international justice for all of us. The CSD warned its supporters. Ahmadinejad's response to RENOUF's plea is not known, but if the Iranian president does at some point in the future propose deporting Israeli Jews to Azerbaijan, you will know where he heard it first. So let me tell you, dear Doty readers of TBR, eyeball to eyeball, this dauntless president said in English, "You and me, we see it the same." That may because Khomeini's ongoing success morale Iranian revolution is surprisingly at the keynote of the courageous Bishop Richard Williamson, and without historical truth there can be no international justice, and that historical truth goes by evidence, not emotion. The opposing predatory strategy of our international Zionist foe depends upon the flimsy bind that truth cannot matter to a man whose livelihood depends upon not seeing it. Yet, without a prophecy come true, the swindling line, the advertising mystique of the Zionist entity can be readily undone. As Mr. Roberts pointed out, this charity is heavily dependent on U.S. taxes. So let's just turn off the American tax-paying pipeline to the unworthy, self-worshipping charity state of Israel, Mr. Roberts. I would suggest that the assistance of Azerbaijan is the non-anti-Semitic option that is missing in everyone's one or two state solutions. However, as Mr. Roberts appears not to have seen through the gradual incompatibility of Judaism with Palestinian equality, regrettably he turns to the constantly foundering interoperative nice fantasy of Zionism's critics that Israel should be moved or reformed, but a reformed Israel is nothing but an oxymoron. Hasn't he noticed that Israel is the barbaric Old Testament made manifest? Israeli-born ex-Jew Gilad Atzmon certainly has said, and he should know, 97% of Israelis backed the Operation Cast Lead, egregious terror besieged upon impoverished Gazans. This proves the Old Testament dedicated Israel is non-reformable. Let's just dismantle this criminal entity and let Jewry live in their Jewish Republic of Azerbaijan, and so that the Palestinians need no longer fight for a reason in the front line of historical truth and justice and international justice for all of us. Okay, thank you.